Hello everyone, it is the Beeve, and once again we are making another video here. Yesterday we had went over the Stamina Necromancer and the build that I had with it. So now I would like to kind of go over this Magicka Necromancer that I have. These Magicka Necromancers, in my opinion, are a little bit tougher to get DPS out of than the Stamina Necromancers for sure. I think a lot of the passives in the Necromancer class line work better for Stamina than they do for Magicka, but we can still get pretty decent damage with this character. Let's go over a few things real quick here. First off, go to the character sheet. Actually, first off, let's take our food. We're using Double Bloody Mara as our max health and max Magicka buff. So maximum Magicka 37,719, maximum health 18,265, maximum stamina 9,500. We got a spell damage of 2115 and a spell crit of 50.2. You can see our Magicka recovery is not very high, even though we are a Brenton, because I'm not using any recovery glyphs, and I'm not using any recovery with the food that I am currently using. So, the rotation that I'm going to show you that I have with this Magicka Necromancer here does not require a whole lot of recovery. It is going to be a heavy attack rotation that does a lot of damage. All points are in Magicka. We are running the Lover Mundus Stone. This is for increased spell and physical penetration. Running this right now solely for the Skeleton Parse. When I go into dungeons or trials with this character, I will put on the Shadow Mundus Stone for extra crit damage. Getting Minor Slayer from one of my sets, Major Prophecy, and once again, like I said, using the Double Bloody Mara. So, champion points, real quick like, 40 in Warlord, 75 in Tenacity, 75 in Arcanist, and 40 Tumbling, 40 Shadow Ward. In the Apprentice of the Mage, 51 Elfborn, 49 Elemental Expert, 12 Spell Erosion. Staff Expert, I have this completely maxed out. Well, not completely maxed out, but very high for at 77 points for 33% more damage done with light and heavy attacks with my Destruction Staffs and Restoration Staffs. Making sure I have 75 points in here for the Butcher passive that gives me a damage increase on my light and heavy attacks by 5% when an enemy is in execute mode. And then I have 81 points into Thaumaturge to, get me 24% more damage with my damage over time abilities. And making sure that I have this Exploiter passive at 75 points for the extra damage done to enemies that have been set off balance. We are using a Lightning Staff, so we are setting enemies off balance. 72 Ironclad, 3 Spell Shield, 56 Hardy, 56 Elemental Defender, 56 Thick Skin, and 27 Quick Recovery. I tried this out right here just to give myself a little bit more healing in some, hairy situations for the most part. Now, the gear that we are using right here. First off, we are using the Elegance set. This is found in Auradon. It is an overland set that you can get from fighting world bosses. Every now and again, something may drop off just a normal ad or a normal mob. And you can find this in the public dungeon as well, and in chests and anything else that, loot can be got from in Auradon. I am running it infused with a spell damage glyph on it. This set is 129 spell damage, 1096 maximum Magicka, 1096 maximum Magicka. Increase your light and heavy attack damage by 20%. I am running a Maelstrom Staff with this setup, which apparently I need to charge this Maelstrom Staff. Maelstrom Staff is your light and heavy attacks deal an additional 1341 damage to enemies within your wall of elements, which is your elemental blockade or an unstable wall of elements. I am using a Zon that I haven't golded out yet. The other set I'm wearing is Infallible Aether. This can be found in all the Craglorn trials, your Hellraw Citadel, your Etherean Archive, and what's that other one in there? Sanctum Ophidia. You can find this Infallible Aether in any of those Craglorn trials. This is 833 spell crit, Minor Slayer at all times, for 5% more damage to dungeons and trial monsters. 129 spell damage, 833 spell crit, and your fully charged heavy attacks deal an additional 903 damage. Enemies you damage with fully charged heavy attacks are inflicted with minor vulnerability for 10 seconds, increasing their damage done by 10%. So, or 8%, I'm sorry. So, I told you earlier, this is this is a heavy attack rotation that I use, where I can keep this minor vulnerability up 100% of the time, and helps me get more damage. And it's going to provide a little bit of utility for the group as well, because it's not just me that is getting this damage buff. It's everyone in the group. It's a debuff on the boss that stays up 100% of the time with this rotation that I am using. All my jewelry is gold jewelry from the Infallible Aether set. All of it does have spell damage on it. I may be transmuting it over to something other than arcane in the future, maybe some bloodthirsty or something like that. But right now, arcane works because your light and heavy attacks scale with your maximum magicka. So we have nice maximum magicka from having all three pieces of this arcane right now. Skills. Okay, so on our Maelstrom bar, we are running the Unraveling Boneyard, 27,412 frost damage over 10 seconds, and applies Major Breach and Major Fracture to enemies within it, reducing their spell and physical resistance by 5280. If you throw this down on a corpse, it does 20% more damage, and then anybody in the group can synergize it for a 10,000 point damage, and it also heals you when they synergize it. So it's a nice little burst heal for this Magicka character. I'm using Blockade of Storms. This is our elemental blockade, or blockade that the Maelstrom staff referred to. It is just a AoE shock damage of 1826 shock damage every 1 second, and it will set concussed enemies off balance for 5 seconds as well. Duration of this is 8 seconds long, and it has an 18 by 12 area of effect. Mystic Siphon, I don't even use this on this bar. This is literally just slotted here for the 3% damage done increase. Necrotic Potency, this is here for our reduces damage taken by 3%. Not really that big of a deal. The heal that you get from consuming the corpses is it's an okay heal, but this is literally just here for ultimate building. So after we clear a room of ads, I can suck up all the corpses, and I have an ultimate ready for the next room. Normally 9 times out of 10, it's really great for ultimate. I do have Inner Light, which is only at level 3 at the moment. Once I get this up to full scaled, it will give me 4% max magicka, and my spell critical rating of 2191. That 2191 equals out to a 10% spell crit chance, and this is an ability that just sits on my bar. It's never used. It is literally here just for the maximum magicka increase and the spell crit increase. I am running Glacial Colossus. He is it's the Colossus that pounds 3 times on the ground. dealing 9,060 frost damage with each smash. Doesn't seem like a whole lot, I understand that, but the minor vulnerability, or the major vulnerability that it applies for 3 seconds per slam of the fist is a big damage dealer. The total uptime on that major vulnerability is about 5 seconds. So 5 seconds of 30% more damage is a boatload more damage. It really is, especially in groups and in trials. So huge ultimate right there. Back bar, this is where I'm going to spend most of my time. This is Stalking Blast Bones, 11,966 flame damage. The further he travels, the more damage it does, but we're going to try to not make him travel too far because it throws off our casting time, you know. We'd like to be able to cast this, you know, every third ability for the most part, and if we're too far away, we can't get that to happen. Mystic Siphon, this is the same thing that was on the front bar. It's on the back bar. This is where we use it. 25,236 over 12 seconds. And this also restores 2,844 Magicka over 12 seconds while siphoning the corpse. And once again, increases your damage done by 3%. That Magicka back, it's not a whole lot, but it's nice. I mean, over the course of 12 seconds, you get back 2,844 Magicka that you weren't getting before. So, I mean, it's not giving you a whole lot, but it's not terrible by any means. Alright, so Ricochet Skull. This is your, one of your, in most cases with these builds, the spammable that you'll see going off a lot. I do not spam this, and you will see why I don't here in a few moments, but it launches a skull dealing 6,700 damage. Every third cast deals 20% increased damage and will bounce up to 3 times, or 2 times to other nearby enemies. Skeletal Arcanist, I do need to get this up in rank as well, but he's 2187 shock damage every 2 seconds to the target you're targeting and everything within a 4-meter radius of that target. So it's a nice little AoE splash right there. It's not doing a whole lot of damage, but it's some. Inner Light once again, so I'm getting my Max Magicka and spell crit bonus on the back bar as well. And then I have the Colossus again on this bar too. I haven't, this is the bar I try to kind of call it out on because it's a little bit more of a hit. But a lot of times I can just call it out on the front bar right before I bar swap and still get that same type of hit coming out of it. So just like in the Necromancer Stam video, you know, anytime we have all of our Grade Lord passives out, especially the Death one here. This is really big, because like on my back bar right here, you see that I have a 50% critical damage bonus for enemies under 25% health, which is Execute phase. And then with the 50% that I'm already carrying, it is literally a 100% uptime on my elegance bar, the bar that I spend most of the time on. I have a 100% uptime on critical hits at 25% health. So everything that comes off is a critical hit and does a lot of damage in that execute phase. On the front bar, it's still at 30% here, so on the front bar we're getting 80%. So, critical phase, I'm 8 times out of 10 critting on the front bar and 10 times out of 10 critting on the back bar. So, really big damage, and that is why I will choose the Shadow Mundus Stone when I am in a group with a tank that has like all caution on it or something. I don't need that Lover Stone on there, and I will switch to the Shadow Stone, and that's just that much more damage coming off of my critical strikes that are going off during execute mode. We do keep our Archer or our Arcane Mage up at all times for our 1500 spell and physical penetration increase, and we have the Rapid Rot for the 10% damage over time. Bone Tyrant, I have all of these filled out through here, except for Last Grasp. I need a couple more ranks in this to be able to get that last 625 max health. Living Death, don't have too many of these filled out. I do have the one that gives me extra ultimate for consuming corpses every 16 seconds. And I do need to get another rank in this here to get my Magicka recovery up by another 100, but honestly, with this build that I have with that's not that important. Have all my ticks in my destruction staff line, have all the ticks in my light armor line, except for Grace. I didn't put anything in this. I need to, but I haven't been farming sky shards or doing too many dungeons with this character yet, so I didn't have a bunch of skill points left over. I'll start using her a little bit more and be able to fill in some of these other things, but this is just for effectiveness of snares and cost of sprint, so this isn't hurting my DPS or damage in any way, shape, or form. Fighter's Guild I do have doing 8, and I have the Banish Wicked perk at 1 point, and for some reason I have Trap Beast unlocked on this, but I can't remember why. But Undaunted, I don't have any of my Undaunted unlocked yet for my extra resources or my extra resource gain from hitting synergies. Do have all my Brenton skills filled out. So, I am using some Essence of Spell Power pots, giving me back maximum Magicka, giving me Major Sorcery and Major Prophecy. Because I have the Inner Light on both bars, I could probably lose the Major Prophecy on these Spell Power pots. I just keep forgetting to not put it on there, honestly. But rotation, as I forgot to go over this, pretty simple. On your front bar, we're using 2 abilities. We are Boneyard, Light Attack, Blockade of Storms, Bar Swap. We are doing a Light Attack, Stalking Black's Bones, Light Attack, Ricochet Skull, Light Attack, Skeletal Arcanist, Light Attack, Blast Bone, Light Attack, Mystic Siphon, fully charged Heavy Attack, Bar Swapping, and starting over. So once again, it is Light Attack Boneyard, Light Attack Blockade, Bar Swap, Light Attack Blast Bone, Light Attack Ricochet Skull, Light Attack Skeletal Arcanist, Light Attack Stalking Blast Bone, Light Attack Mystic Siphon, fully charged Heavy Attack, Bar Swap back, and start over. The reason that we're doing it that way, when I make sure that I call out that Blast Bone on the back bar the second time, right before I call out the Mystic Siphon. The other Blast Bone has not came up yet by the time the Mystic Siphon has taken effect, and it still goes up and it hits the boss and lays on the ground. So when I bar swap back to my Unraveling Boneyard, there's a corpse on the ground for that 20% damage increase. I always make sure there's a corpse on the ground for that Boneyard to consume. Alright, so with that all said and done, let's go ahead and just do a really quick skeleton parse here. Now I always make sure I have my Arcanist out. Now even throw a Blast Bone out at first too, just so I get that first graveyard. Might be a little bit of, like, it's... Now you see those numbers that just came off that Heavy Attack? They were ticking for like 20k. That's a really good tick on them, but you'll see as I go through this, a lot of times they're hitting for 14, 15k, and that's where we're getting a lot of our damage output from, is those light and heavy attacks. There's another 20k tick on those. Really big heavy attack numbers there again. Alright, so that right there was 37,433. Really heavy damage output right there. If you were paying attention to my Magicka in any way, shape, or form, you were going to notice that I never really dropped much below half of my max Magicka during that parse right there because of that heavy attack rotation and because of the Mystic Siphon giving me back a little bit more. And I was using Spell Power Pots that gave me, you know, what is it, 7,500 Magicka back and 20% recovery. So, the magic recovery is not a big issue, like I was speaking before, only having 877, I think it was. 822. Only having 822 recovery never came into effect with this build. So, really good damage output. And, let's go ahead. I didn't even drop an ultimate on that last one. Let me start this over again. Let's drop an ultimate and see what it gets to this time. Oh, messed that one up already. Once again, you see those really high ticks on that heavy attack coming off right there. Okay, so with ultimate, not much higher that time. I did mess that one up, unfortunately, but normally with this build, if I don't mess up the rotation and get my ultimate out when I'm supposed to get it out, then I can normally, I've hit 41k with it. That's not DPS. That's you know setting the world on fire by any means. It's really not, but it is still more than enough DPS to get through any veteran dungeon. A lot of different vet content trials, like the Craglorn trials, a lot of them don't require, immense amounts of DPS either. They just require good coordination and, good teamwork for the most part. Most trials kind of consist of that stuff, honestly. But that is the type of numbers you can expect. It's a really easy rotation. It's very easy to keep your Magicka up, still put out decent amounts of damage. And as time goes on, I'll perfect this a little bit more and probably be able to start throwing more things in to get a little bit better damage output as well. But until then, I'm not going to take up any more of your time, guys. Thank you very much. If you like this, let me know. And if there's anything that you're interested in me trying out, definitely hit me up in the guild or leave a comment here, and I will see what I can get to. But thank you very much for watching, and y'all have a very good day.